Reddit, when did you cheat something and get away with it?
In university, we had an exam that was online, and during the exam, we weren't allowed to have any other tabs open. I had a study sheet that I created on Word beforehand, and I copied the whole document and pasted it into one of the short answer boxes. My professor walked around the lab to make sure no one was cheating, so every time he walked by, I scrolled up to the top where the multiple choice questions were, and when he left, I would search for the answers in the little short answer text box.
I hired some truly random guy at a pub to write to my final exam paper for a media studies class because I had too many advanced courses to study for. Not only did he not beep it up, but he earned such flawless marks, unlike me, that the professor made a special note of its quality. Brilliant work. This was unlike anything you've ever written before. Ouch, and thank God.
I was the top of my class in chemistry, but something was wrong with my brain on our fourth exam. Couldn't think to save my life. I was so frustrated that I crumpled my test and threw it in the trash at the end of the hour. Next class, the teacher asked me to stay behind, apologized for losing my exam, and averaged my previous exam scores. I feel bad, but she saved my ass.
I have submitted corrupted Word documents and gotten S's for them.
I've told this story before. I started college in the early 2000s, had to drop out, and went back near the end of that decade. A lot changed in those intervening years, including sites like Turnitin not existing my first go-around. I had an essay I got an A on my first start at college, and I still had it on a floppy disk. When I returned years later, I had another course that had an essay due. I wasn't feeling doing it, but I remembered this old essay I had from before, and I knew that Turnitin didn't exist then. I only turned in a paper copy that time, so there was no online presence of it, nor would it get flagged as unoriginal. So I got my disk converter out, got that old essay out, changed the date, course number, and turned it in on Turnitin for this other course, and as I knew would happen, it wasn't flagged. I also got an A on that paper too. Yeah, you can't do things like that now.
In high school government class, we had a final exam I really wasn't prepared for. The day of, I wore ripped jeans and wrote notes on my thighs in spots I could see by just pulling on a hole a little bit.
So there was this place called Discovery Zone when I was a kid. Usually had birthday parties there, as it was a mix of a jungle gym with slides and tunnels along with an arcade. Think Chuck E. Cheese with a big playground. Like most places that had arcades for kids, you earned tickets and could cash them in for prizes, but like all these places, the good prizes cost a beep of tickets. My parents, being sensible, wouldn't give me unlimited money to play the games, so I was only able to get a few hundred tickets from some of the easier ones, not enough for anything good. I couldn't decide what I wanted or if I was going to be able to play more before spending the tickets, but I didn't want to carry them around with me. They had a system that one of the staff counts your tickets, writes the number on the back of a ticket and signs it, so you only have one ticket to carry. I really wanted one of the big stuffed animals because they had all the good Looney Tunes characters. My brain went to work. I figured out that I could write whatever number of tickets I wanted on the back of another ticket, fake the signature and cash it in. Problem was, my writing wasn't good enough to copy someone else's, so I brought one of my friends in on it. I explain the plan to him and he gets to work writing the ticket. To my dismay, the number of tickets he puts down is in the tens of thousands. I thought for sure it was way too much to be believable, but his argument was that it has to be a large amount for us to both get something good, and we won't be able to use the trick too many times. I agreed and figured we didn't have much to lose. We waited until the staff member whose signature we forged went on break and got to the counter while they were away. The staff member looked at our ticket, gave us a good up and down, shrugged and asked us what we wanted. We made away with a giant Tasmanian devil, Marvin the Martian, and Sylvester the cat, as well as a bunch of smaller items to use up the X's. Tickets. Our cover story for how we earned so many tickets without any money from our parents is that we found a bunch of the game tokens in the ball pit and used them to earn the tickets. To add icing to the cake, in the back corner of this place there was a net high up with more of the Sylvester the cats on it. We used our Sylvester the cat to knock another one off. He took the Marvin the Martian and one of the Sylvesters, I took the other and the Tasmanian devil. Our parents never really pressed us on it, but one of our classmates was always incredibly suspicious of our story. Over 2 decades later and I still have those stuffies.
Parking garage hack with a cookie sheet on the sensor. Park and take your cookie sheet. When you're walking back, slap that mofo on the sensor and get a new ticket. Then leave. Saves hundreds in Chicago. It thinks the sheet is a wheel and spits a new ticket.
In high school chemistry we had to memorize some polyatomic ions, which was just tedious because each had a different charge that I keep getting mixed up. On the final exam we could use the periodic table he gave us from the start of the year as long as there are no notes on it, which he quickly checked. The page was a grainy photocopy and every student had specks of dirt or eraser bits on their sheets. On the main atoms for each of the ions I penciled in tiny dots to tell me the charge for that ion. I got away with it, and it probably got me 2 questions on a 50-question test.
My last paper that I had to turn in for my bachelor's was a group paper. We were writing the paper on a Google Doc, and I was the last one to submit my portion. As I was reading the paper, preparing to begin typing, I realized that one of my group mates had written what was supposed to be my part, and had written it better than I did. So I just left it. I didn't tell the group what happened, and just submitted the paper. We got an A, the degree's on my wall.
High school gym class. Had to run the timed mile. I am not fit nor athletic. We had 2 days of exercise challenges for a grade, day 1 being push-ups, sit-ups etc., second day was the mile. I was absent the first day when my teacher had paired the class up into partners that would help each other keep track of stats etc. Being an odd number of students, when I returned the next day the only person left to be my partner was my old, rude gym teacher. We head out to the track to run the mile. Teacher says one partner from each group go first. When you are done we will have the second group go. The first group went and I just stood behind the teacher. The second group went and I did the same. Then I waited until she looked to her right and I came up from her left, breathing heavy, acting exhausted. I gave her my time, perfectly happy with my beat time and not even running a step.
My senior religion class had quizzes every week. I wrote down answers in eraser on the desk. It could only be seen from a certain angle, and could be wiped away quickly. I cheated almost every quiz and never got caught.
In high school, around 30 years ago, I and the rest of the student council were counting up the votes for the new members, including the votes for the new president. I didn't like one of the candidates for president, a dumb jock, and the other candidate was one of my friends. The guy I didn't like was clearly winning, so I counted their votes as votes for my friend, as the principal and vice principal observed. I didn't want it to be obvious, so I only changed a few votes at a time. My friend won by a small margin, so I didn't feel too badly. Later on I found out that everyone who was counting the votes were doing the exact same thing.
I opted to take an online driving course rather than get points on my license for a speeding ticket. I took the final exam using a bootable Red Hat Linux Live CD and used whatever default browser came with that OS. The online test was such that the controls weren't nearly as locked down as with a Windows-based browser, so I was able to copy and paste text from the course to a text editor and then search it while taking the exam.
Every time I had to write a book report in high school, I wrote it on the same book that I never fully read. Used that book at least 4 times.
In high school I turned in one of my girlfriend's research papers. She was older and had already taken the class. I changed maybe 10 words and put my name on it, somehow got a better grade than she did, loudly crying.
Up, up, down, down, left, right, VA.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.